This was only a few months ago, but I still can't believe it actually happened. I'm not someone who scares easily, but that night changed how I look at being alone in the woods forever. It started when I decided to go camping by myself near a small mountain lake outside a quiet town in Montana called Elk Ridge. I'd just gotten out of a long, exhausting work streak and wanted total silence. No phone, no people, just me and the trees. I'd camped alone plenty of times before, but this time felt different, even before I left. The weather had been weird for weeks, foggy mornings, random temperature drops, and people in town talking about hearing screams echoing from the forest after midnight. Of course, I laughed it off like everyone else, assuming it was coyotes or someone's imagination. That's the thing about horror. You never really expect it until you're in it. I parked my truck at a trailhead that barely anyone used, threw on my backpack, and started hiking before sunset. The trail was quiet, too quiet, honestly, with no birds, no insects, not even wind. It was like the forest itself was holding its breath. I found a decent spot near the lake after about 2 hours and set up my tent, gathered some wood, and started a fire. The flames flickered gently against the water, and for a while it was peaceful, the kind of calm that makes you forget the world exists. I even made coffee over the fire and sat listening to the crackle of burning pine, but that's when I first noticed something strange. Across the lake, maybe 30 yards away, I saw what looked like a small light, faint and swaying like someone holding a lantern. My first thought was another camper, but when I waved my flashlight in that direction, the light instantly went out, just vanished. I waited, listening for footsteps, voices, anything, but there was nothing. Just the sound of the water gently lapping at the shore. I told myself it was someone hiking and not wanting to be disturbed, but my gut already knew better. Around midnight, I was still awake, poking at the fire when I heard it. A slow crunch of leaves coming from the tree line behind my tent. It wasn't the sound of a random animal either. It was steady, heavy, deliberate, like someone stepping carefully through the woods. I froze, holding my breath, listening as it stopped, then started again, a few steps closer. My flashlight was lying on the log next to me, and when I picked it up and pointed it toward the noise, everything went dead silent. I kept it there, the beam cutting through the trees, but there was nothing. No person, no animal, just darkness. I decided to call out. "Hello? Who's there?" My voice cracked slightly, and I hated how nervous it sounded. No answer, just that eerie silence pressing back. I finally convinced myself to sit back down, telling myself it was just the forest messing with me, but the unease wouldn't leave. Every few seconds, I thought I heard faint movement again, like someone circling my camp from a distance. I ended up tossing a few more logs into the fire just to have more light. I don't know why, but I didn't want to go into the tent. The open fire somehow felt safer than being zipped inside a thin layer of fabric. It must have been close to 2 a.m. when the fog rolled in. 1 second, the air was clear, and the next, the whole lakeside was drowning in thick white mist. I could barely see 5 feet ahead, and the firelight looked like it was trapped in a glowing bubble. That's when I heard something again. Footsteps, slow and dragging, right along the edge of the water. I turned toward the sound, heart pounding, and through the haze I saw a faint figure, tall, thin, maybe wearing a coat, standing completely still just at the edge of my vision. I shouted, "Hey, you okay?" But the figure didn't move. It was just standing there, like it was watching. The fog shifted for a split second, and I swear I saw its face, or maybe the lack of one. It was smooth and pale, almost like a porcelain mask without features. I blinked, and when I looked again, it was gone. The sound of slow splashing in the lake started a moment later, as if something was wading into the water, heading deeper. That's when panic really set in. I grabbed my flashlight again and started scanning the area, but the beam only caught fog and rippling water. Then In the beam for half a second, I saw something floating. Not an object, but hair. Long, black strands drifting just above the surface before slipping under. My whole body went cold. I don't even remember deciding. I just started packing everything I could in a frenzy. I knew I wasn't sleeping there. While I was shoving stuff into my bag, I noticed something weird about my tent. The zipper was halfway open. I could have sworn I'd closed it earlier, but maybe I didn't? Except inside, on the sleeping bag, there was a handprint. Not a dirty one. It was wet, like someone pressed their soaked palm right there. I nearly dropped the flashlight. I backed up, scanning the fog again, whispering to myself, "No, no, no." When I turned back toward the fire, something was crouched right behind it. I didn't even hear it approach. It looked human, but wrong. Its shoulders were too narrow, its limbs were too long. It was staring straight at me through the haze, and the firelight made its skin shimmer like wet wax. I took one step backwards, and it tilted its head slightly, like it was curious. Then, in a voice that sounded like someone mimicking speech, it said, "You saw me." The voice was flat, toneless, like it was learning to speak by copying me. That broke something in me. I turned and ran, didn't care about my gear, didn't look back, just sprinted into the woods. My flashlight beam bounced wildly across trees and fog, and every few seconds I thought I heard that same voice behind me whispering, "You saw me, you saw me." The trail was barely visible, but somehow I found my way back to where I parked. I jumped in the truck, started the engine, and floored it down the dirt road, heart pounding so hard it hurt. When I got back to town around dawn, I parked at a diner and just sat there, shaking. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. When the sun came up fully, I decided to tell the local sheriff what happened, half expecting him to laugh. But when I mentioned the lake's name, his face went pale. He told me there were old reports of people vanishing out there. Campers, fishermen, even a ranger about 5 years ago. Locals say there was a woman who drowned herself in that lake decades ago after her husband never came home from the war. They say her body was never found, but sometimes she's seen walking along the shore or watching from the fog, waiting for someone to recognize her. I don't know if what I saw was her or something else pretending to be, but I haven't gone camping since. I tried to go back once with a few friends just to prove to myself it was in my head, but the road was closed off with a rusted gate and a new sign that said, "No entry, unsafe area." Even now, I still wake up some nights thinking I hear that dragging step outside my window, slow and heavy, like something still looking for me. Once, about a week after it happened, I found muddy footprints under my bedroom window. I live 2 towns away now, but that didn't make me feel better. I don't tell people this part because it sounds insane, but one morning I found a single wet handprint on my truck door, same as the one that was in my sleeping bag. I washed it off and haven't talked about it since. Maybe it's my mind playing tricks on me, maybe I'm cursed for seeing whatever that thing was, or maybe there really is something in those woods that doesn't want to be seen. But if you ever find yourself alone near a foggy mountain lake and you see a dim light flicker across the water, don't look too long, because if it looks back, you might not leave the forest the same again.